we are back. Welcome back to yet another Behind the Lens. I am Debbie Lynn Elias, film critic, creator, and host of Behind the Lens. You can find my reviews and interviews in print and online around the globe, locally in California, East Coast, down south, Europe, and even South Africa. But every Monday, you can find me right here live on Adrenaline Radio and Advice Radio with Behind the Lens, where we take you behind the lens and below the line. For all of our regular listeners, I think after last week, you got a really good taste of that with our very special in-studio guest, Academy Award nominee, Scott Hecker, with the Formosa Group. And yes, Scott, for those of you that have emailed and asked this week, yes, Scott will be back again. We're going to get that set up. Plus, we'll also have some other of the artisans and masters of sound from Formosa Group in the coming months. So stay tuned for that. And our delightful Theo Taplitz. See him in Little Men in theaters now. It's expanding wider each week. And you can also see some of Theo's own films. Go onto Vimeo and just type his name in, and a collection of his own award-winning short films will pop up for you. But put Theo's name on the radar, because he's a young man who's going to be around for a long time to come. And I'm just so thrilled to know him, and that we were lucky enough to get him as a guest last week with Scott here to have the melding of the two generations. So, but this week, you know, variety is the spice of life. And this week we've got some great variety because we've got Emmy nominees this week. Very excited to have LAURA ZAK and Sydney Freeland. LAURA ZAK is the executive producer, creator, writer, and one of the stars of the short form series Her Story. Sydney Freeland is the director of the 6-episode series. And yes, it has garnered an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Short Form Drama or Comedy Series. Very excited to have these ladies with us. I saw the Her Story series back before LA Film Festival. It debuted at LAFF, and it was one of my must-see festival picks. Absolutely amazing. Very good storytelling. Revolves around the LGBT community, but it's more about people as opposed to labels. And everybody interacts the way all of us interact, and it's just fabulous, fabulous series. So I'm looking forward to speaking with LAURA and Sydney today. Before LAURA and Sydney, though, we're going to have Michael Snyder, one of my colleagues, press colleagues, but he is also a producer and writer in his own right. And he has his short film, the hilarious Barry and Rose Show, that has a comedic sensibility that mirrors Michael's to a T. Michael will be joining us at about the 15-minute mark to talk about Barry and Roe, which everyone can go see at Holly Shorts in Los Angeles this week. And then I understand a few more festivals have been added to the lineup. So we'll get Michael to talk about that. But before we get there, big, busy interview week for me. Most notably, Ben-Hur. You've been hearing me and film's director Timur Bekmambetov talking about the film for well over a year now. And finally, the film is done. It will be in theaters this Friday. I'm embargoed from telling you what I think of it until 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. But I am able to share excerpts of interviews from this weekend's press day. And we'll get to that in a few minutes. Yes, all about the chariot race. It's all about the chariot race, people. But first, Brian, where are you?
I am right here.
He's sleeping on the job, man.
No, I just had to make sure that I wasn't louder than you.
Oh, well, that's all right.
On the board. No, it's not all right, because this is your program, and I think you brought me along.
But I share.
You do. And behind the scenes, Debbie shares everything from the bottled water that she's drinking right now to everything else in her life. But
that explains why there was only one bottle of water left when I got here today.
Yeah. Well, I brought my water this time.
No, that's okay.
I brought my own water from home as I was leaving.
But, this is, I know, we're getting to your very special segment here. But in terms of that very special segment, we had some sad news this weekend.
Oh yes, I didn't even. Wow, I can't believe I forgot. Yeah.
We lost Kenny Baker,
Yeah.
R2D2.
And I think Mark Hamill had the best line or tribute to him was saying, you know, he enjoyed his enthusiasm and his optimism, and he was the joy that he was looking for. Was the way he closed out that tweet, and it did bring a little swelling to the eyes. Even thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill definitely working alongside him.
Yeah, and Kenny was R2D2 in 6 films.
Yeah, he was, except the last one. Yeah, there.
Yeah, the first 6, the initial trilogy, the initial 3, the predecessor 3, but then he missed out on the newest one.
Yeah.
So
very sad to have woken up to that news.
Yeah, that did not make my day.
No, but I mean, staying within the terms of Star Wars, on a more positive note, you know, obviously rest in peace to R2D2, not the character, but the person who portrayed him. We have 486 days, 12 hours, 53 minutes to go until Star Wars Episode 8 comes out. And Rogue One, I mean, which the trailer that just dropped last week, I don't think we got to speak about it.
We did not. So talk about the Rogue One trailer.
It showed a lot more of the stormtroopers, the new ones. I mean, they're not new in the sense of the story, but they're the shock troopers.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are cool with the black outfit. It showed the general who looks like it's going to be the main villain.
Okay.
Right next to the most evilest person in all of the galaxy in that time period. Darth Vader made an appearance, you know, and I was excited because they had said that he was going to be in the film, and I thought maybe I joked around it was just going to be him walking in the background somewhere really quickly, and that was going to be it, and I was going to be content and really excited about that. But no, it seems like he's going to be if not a big part of it,
a major player.
Oh yeah, I mean they have somebody, I don't know who, but they have somebody in the costume, and it was just a silhouette of his helmet. I think he turns around for a second, and the trailer cuts back to black, but you hear the iconic breathing. And you see the character, even if it's just from the backside. It's perfect. It's awesome. And that Rogue One comes out in 122 days. So
that is beyond fathomable.
So I came to do the show, and I'm going right back to the movie theater to save my place in line.
Really? Well, you know, and I really appreciate that.
No, yeah, and just for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, if anybody wants to donate to my GoFundMe page for sleeping outside a movie theater, please go ahead and look it up.
Which theater will you be sleeping out of for Rogue One?
Well, you know, I'm just joking around, but I'm gonna go watch it midnight screening Thursday. I'm gonna try to get to even some of the local ones. At this point, like I'm very picky about my movie theaters. I like seats that recline, but if it's for Rogue One, I'm going to whatever theater is not sold out.
Well, then as soon as tickets go on sale, start looking.
Oh yeah, because I that's what happened with Episode 8. I had to watch it about 3 days after it came out because everything was just sold out. But this one I'm gonna be on the start. It's gonna be the first day. I'm gonna get my tickets. So no need to sleep outside anymore, people. If you sleep outside during Black Friday too, you're wasting your time because you can just get those deals online. Just letting you know that, in case you didn't.
And of course, people can hear more from Brian later on today if you tune in at 5 o'clock.
At 5 p.m. I have my own podcast, Nothing in Particular podcast show. We'll be talking a little bit more about Rogue One as well as the box office, and.
Well, you know, I have to ask you about your show. Last week after we finished Behind the Lens, Brian started a pizza poll.
Oh, yes, we did.
So, you know, it was not part of Behind the Lens, but he got all of us involved in this pizza poll.
Yes, I asked Scott and company.
So I am the designated person to find out what were the results.
I actually started the poll within the room with you guys.
Yeah.
Because I had been on Facebook after the program was done, and I saw the hatred for pineapple pizza, the beautiful creation that is pineapple pizza. And the entire room struck me down. Everybody that was behind the lens, so to speak, behind the program was like, well, you're dumb for liking pineapple pizza. But during that day, the survey said out of 36 people, about 16 of them enjoyed pineapple pizza, if I remember correctly. And then and then 10 or 20, whatever adds to 36. Pineapple won that week, but in this week, it's neck to neck. I mean, the poll is still open, but I polled about 100 people. A lot of them at Disneyland, a lot of them where I went. And I'm going to let you know right now, it looks like it's going to be a tie. And that's not even a spoiler. I mean, it's fun. It's 50-50. It's
Wow.
honestly 50-50. If one more person votes either or before the end of the day, before the podcast
It
goes
could
out live,
it could sway the.
it'll swing to wherever it goes.
It's as exciting as the presidential elections.
Oh yeah, it's coming down the wire. I don't know why people aren't covering it, but it's I'm getting to the bottom of it.
I'll tell you. But what I want to know is what is your age demographic? Because all of us that don't like it, we're in the upper age bracket,
Yeah.
the 40 and over.
I actually don't keep a track of age because pizza's timeless.
Well, this is true.
So it doesn't matter how old you are. You enjoy a slice of pizza. Everybody enjoys pizza. So
this is true.
I don't age discriminate. So everybody who got polled, I didn't ask them their age, and I'm not even assuming how old they are. Everybody loves pizza, so that's how my. But I did ask. What's funny is a lot of the people would pick the pineapple off. There's very little number of people who absolutely hate the pizza.
Me.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't pick it off. You would just not eat it.
That's right.
Yeah. So a lot of people would pick it off, but most of the people would just bypass even the picking off portion of it. So thank you for asking. I mean, we're talking about the hard things on my podcast. We get to today's issues.
I know you do. I know you do. I like to give a plug where a plug is required.
Oh, thank you.
And we might as well give another plug for In the Deep. We didn't get to talk about In the Deep last week.
No, which on the back cover has something very interesting.
It does. It does. I was very excited to find out that Weinstein and Anchor Bay put my pull quote on the box cover. So dive in. The water's warm and bloody. It is a shark movie. And what do you expect from movie Shark de Blore?
Yeah.
But covering a shark movie. It's quite good.
Yeah, definitely check that out. Yeah, and like I said, it has a pull quote, or like Debbie said, there's a pull quote of Debbie's. What she said about the film, which I don't remember word for word what it was, but it was nice.
Dive in. The
Compared
water's warm and bloody.
Compared to the things she tells me after the program.
Oh, stop. No, it's actually, so many people were raving about The Shallows a couple months ago. I had the privilege of seeing In the Deep long before The Shallows came out. And there is no real comparison. While the cinematography of The Shallows is beautiful, beautiful. In the Deep, the story, the tension, because it's shot 47 meters down underwater. And that always adds a whole other element as you're trapped with your air running out and you can hear the aerator. The sound design plays a big part. It is really exceedingly well done. And so I can't recommend it enough. It is on VOD, digital, and DVD and Blu-ray. So, In the Deep. But let us move on to, before Michael Snyder calls in, let us move on to a film that I've been waiting 2 years to really delve into, and that is Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur, many of you, when you think of Ben-Hur, you think of Charlton Heston, the chariot race. You may or may not have seen the film. It is based on an 1880 novel by Lew Wallace, the book of which is predicated upon the Bible, the Gospels, and the New Testament. And it is one of the cornerstones for most Christians that they have read. So it should come as no surprise to anybody that two of the producers of Ben-Hur, the new one, are Roma Downey and Mark Burnett. There have been many incarnations of Ben-Hur. There was a 1907 silent that was it was a 15-minute short, and it starred William S. Hart as Masala and Herman Rutger as Ben-Hur. For those of you that don't know the story, depending on which version you're looking at, Masala and Ben-Hur are either brothers or they're old friends. In this new version, which is written by John Ridley and Keith R. Clark, they are, Masala is the adopted brother into the Hur family, so he and Judah Ben-Hur grow up together as brothers. Obviously, the chariot scene is what everybody thinks about. The chariot scene has been in every single one of the Ben-Hur incarnations. The most famous of which, of course, actually the 1925 version, the chariot scene was shot in Culver City in the Culver Studios on the backlot, which many people do not know. But there were location shootings in Rome. Of course, the 1959 version, directed by William Wyler, starring Charlton Heston and Stephen Boyd, it was shot in Cinecittà Studios in Italy, which is where this Ben-Hur was also shot, as well as in Matera, a very, very historical region of Italy. So I had a chance to... Now, we all know the stories of... All the classic film fans know the stories of the 1959 version and the legendary stuntman Yakima Knut. Yakima spent 2 years plotting out and designing the spina, the course, the track in the circus that the chariot race takes place in. He spent time training and working with Heston and Boyd and the other riders, but also mapping it out as to how it could be executed as safely as possible. His son actually doubled Charlton Heston for portions of the chariot race. Now, fast forward to the present, Timur Bekmambetov, and second unit director Phil Nielsen, and horsemaster stunt coordinator Steve Dent, they didn't have 2 years. They also didn't have to build a track that was 3 times regular size in order to get the lensing and the action that William Wyler wanted for the film. Thanks to cameras we have now, GoPros, it makes it a lot easier. But it's still dangerous. It's still action-packed. And if you've seen any of the trailers, you've seen much of that action. And yes, it is Jack Huston and Toby Kebbell doing their own chariot racing. So this weekend, I got to talk to them about the chariot race and training. So let's hear first what Jack had to say about the chariot race.
A lot of training, exactly. You know it now. It was insane. It was amazing. We were very aware that, even people who haven't seen Ben-Hur can sometimes identify that it's the movie that has the amazing chariot race. And, it's like whether you've seen it or not, that's it. And today for a modern audience who is so, I'd say, bogged down almost by so much effects and so much CGI, what Timur, our wonderful director, did was, he's quite an effects-driven director in the past, has been. He said, you know what, I'm going to trick them all. Let's do it. Let's really do everything for real. We had no green screen or blue screen in that arena. Everything, it was built to scale. And every time you see us with those horses, that was us with those horses, which was a rigorous training, sort of regime, which me and Toby both had to go through for months before we actually started filming. But it was all the better for it because, you really want the audience to go with you on this ride. And the way you want to do that is if they are feeling everything you're feeling. And if we were in a studio or faking any of that, I think it would have read instantly. And the difference of actually being with those horses, which is incomparable to anything I've ever done, it was a very special, amazingly sort of almost like a meditation when you were on those horses, because it is very dangerous and you have to be very aware of what you're doing, because it's not just you have to worry about. You've got another 28 horses running around with you, and chariots which weigh over, I think, 1,200 pounds, some insane amount. They're very dangerous. But you only focus on the job at hand. So for those brief moments, you are completely immersed within the race and within the chariot scene. So it's that lovely thing where your brain isn't telling you, oh, you should have done this better, you should have done that. You're completely focused. And it's, we shot for 6 weeks with first unit, 5 weeks with second unit, close to 3 months, just the chariot race, which they managed to take down to 10, 12 minutes of film. So you can imagine how much went into it. It's crazy.
So, and well, while we're waiting for Michael to call, wherever Michael Snyder may be with the Barry and Rose show, let's move on and hear a little bit more about Ben-Hur from Toby Kebbell, who gets down and dirty into describing the actual training and working with horses and chariots.
Yeah, Toby, I want to ask you about the all-important chariot race. You're no stranger to horses. Mm-hmm. You also didn't have the 2 years that Yakima Knut had in the 1959 version. So what was your training, first the training regimen like to learn chariot driving, but then also the shooting of it? Because in this one, I know that Timur was very excited about this. Every conversation we've had for 2 years ended up as the chariot thing. He was happy with all the horses.
Yeah.
But we're not shooting in 70 millimeter Panavision. It's narrowed down, which requires a lot more setups, a lot more shooting. Can you walk us through what the whole experience from training to filming of that was like?
Yeah, so training began, it was 1 month before shooting, so we were there 3 weeks before everyone else, yeah. And so, you know, there was a whole process of, the way you learn the chariot was, you learn 1 horse, you learn 2 horses, and then you learn 4 horses. And that is because your first horse is the horse you're going to keep on your outside right flank, because we're running the spinner to the left. Now it was an actual scale spinner, and in the 59 they made a triple size, so they could have time and space to get these shots of wheels clashing or them whipping each other. We didn't have that time because we had the advancement of technology, which is a light camera. So we had cameras on the chariots, we had GoPros in soccer balls on the thing, so you could see under the horse's hooves. We had all this light technology, and that allowed to do it at full speed. We don't ever have to speed up the film, so no one's having to do this and looking at, you know, we don't have to do that. And it's not because they couldn't do it, it's just the technology wasn't there, the camera's capability wasn't there. So we knew we were going to be doing this full speed. That was the reason I signed up for the job, was Timur said, we are doing this, it's not CGI. There's no technology can give me 4 horse characters for each of the 8 chariots. It's too much work, so we're going to do it for real. And the reason you learn 1 horse, twofold. First thing is, if you stamp on the brakes that we had, which were disc brakes, the chariot hops. It just is, it's a physics thing. And at the front we have a pole that's attaching the horse to the chariot. If that pole touches the ground, we're tumbled over. So you can't stamp on your brake. So really you have to learn this horse, and this horse learns your voice. He's on your outside right because he's your smartest. So he's going to be running the full race with you. If we do 7 laps, he's running all 7 laps. He's going to hear your voice over 8 other voices calling and yipping and woeing. And then you've got 2 bulls. They're just going to run. They're runners. They're just runners. They're runners. They're sheep. They'll follow whatever George or Motzi does. Now, Motzi is your inside horse, and he's the laziest horse you've ever had in your life. And the reason he's lazy is my strength is nothing compared to 1 horse. So compared to 4, forget about it. There's no point. So I have Motzi to break stride. Now, Motzi doesn't want to run. So even on the long straight, he's still sort of doing this. So he breaks stride. The 2 sheep follow him. Now it's me and 3 horses versus George. And George is listening to my voice. So suddenly I've got a symbiotic relationship, and I can actually leave these horses thinking I'm in charge, which is not true at all.
Who was better with the horses?
Who was better?
Yeah, you or Jack.
Masala.
Thank you.
I saw it. I was there every day. You were incredible with those
Thank you,
horses.
brother. Yeah.
No, Jack was awesome, but it was
Yeah.
just different.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
He had a different approach. He worked different with horses. For Toby, you could see it was very important that he connected with his 4 horses. That's the reason why you did so much training, and it was awesome.
Thank you.
It was incredible seeing these guys, and they did it for real.
Yeah, we had a great day doing it for Peter.
Yeah.
He was there watching the race, so we all just ran the race.
They just did it again and again and again, just for me. That was
It was great.
It was awesome.
Pressure on us suddenly. It was just like, oh man, we're all like waving at him. It's like, ah.
But I could see when you saw Jack and you standing with those,
Yeah.
you gotta be strong.
Yeah, you have to hold those horses because they can go. I mean, it was 8
We had
seconds from
accidents.
the gate
Yeah.
to the first corner. 8 seconds. It's quick. It's nearly 46 miles an hour.
And all that raucous laughter in there, and the male voice you heard jump in there, that is one of Toby's co-stars. Toby, of course, plays Masala. Jack Huston plays Judah Ben-Hur, but that is Pilu Asbeck, and he plays Pontius Pilate. I am lucky enough to have known Pilu for a couple of years. You may know him best, those of you who know the work of Tobias Lindholm, who have seen a hijacking or a war. That is Pilu, and this is Pilu's first American film, first English film. So he's very excited about it, and participated in the entire filming process, even when he was not filming. And as you can hear, the boys actually ran chariot races just for him. So it was a good time had by all with chariot races. And I see Brian with the phone, and do we know what we're doing? I'm getting all kinds. I'm getting emails so that we're changing up talent today. Instead, for her story, instead of director Sydney Freeland, we're going to have the producer Kate Fisher, who is the one who will bring the Emmy home for the show. Now, who do we? Oh no. Okay.
Let's take a short commercial break, and I'll.
Oh, we need a break so Brian can tell me something.
Yes,
okay.
I can fill
We'll
you
be
in.
right back. And we are back. Now, Brian, who do I have on the line?
You have Kate.
I have Kate. We lost Laura.
Yeah, Laura should be calling back.
Laura will call back. Hello, Kate Fisher. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I am so thrilled to have you. I've been getting frantic emails from Mitch and Tiffany this morning. Changing.
Yeah. Sorry.
I am happy to have any of you because I just, this was one of my must-see picks at LA Film Festival, the Her Story series, and I am just beyond thrilled that you have garnered an Emmy nomination. How does that feel to be the Emmy-nominated Kate Fisher?
I know. It feels amazing, and it really is. It's not just me. It's really the entire team in this position, like being the best series. It really kind of speaks towards all of the producers, all of the actors, the creators. Sydney, of course, who unfortunately couldn't be on this call today. Our cinematographer, Baravino. I mean, this is such a group award that it just kind of feels very validating in terms of having put the right team together and having the right kind of emphasis and ethos behind how we created it. So it feels great. It's amazing, and we're the only indie as well in our category. So it's daunting, but it's exciting.
And Laura's on the line now too, aren't you? Are you there, Laura?
Hi. Yes. Thank you for having us.
Hey, congratulations
Hi.
to you too. I don't know if Sylvia or Mitch or anybody told you the minute that the Emmy nominations came out and I saw that you were nominated, I emailed them and I said, I have to have them on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was pretty amazing to see the immediate response. I mean, first of all, there's the surprise of even finding out that we were nominated, and then we hadn't even really let ourselves think that far ahead, so that then there was I remember that day when we found out. I didn't get out of my pajamas for 4 hours because it was just interview after interview back to back. So it was all very surreal.
I mean, I'm so thrilled for you guys because this series, it's fabulous to watch. Your actors, the performances, but it goes to the story. And Laura, you as one of the writers co-writing with Jen Richards, where did the idea for Her Story come from?
So it actually, the seed of the idea was born out of just a real-life chemistry and dynamic that Jen and I had when we first became friends. We actually met on the set of another web series that I wrote and started and co-produced called Hashtag, and we had cast Jen for a tiny cameo role where her character and my character share a brief flirtation. And we actually hadn't been properly introduced yet until set, and we were shooting. And so the first interaction that Jen and I ever had was on camera flirting with each other before we had even said, hi, hello, I'm Laura, I'm Jen. And after that, we struck up a friendship and found that we had a lot of common interests and similar educational background, which you see play out in Her Story, where they kind of geek out about the canon classics and Game of Thrones, and all of these sort of nerdy aspects to the characters are very much based in our friendship. And so what happened is originally Jen came to me with the idea to write a spin-off of Hashtag that explored a potential romantic relationship between our two characters. And then pretty quickly in the writing process, when we started to figure out the story, we realized we wanted the freedom to kind of go in an entirely new direction that didn't rely on sort of what had been established in a separate show. And then at that point, it felt like the natural third lead should be this character, Paige, who is the Black trans woman on the show, portrayed by Angelica Ross, because at the time, Jen and Angelica were roommates in Chicago, and so there was plenty of material as well about Angelica's life that inspired the character of Paige, and it just made sense for these to be the three perspectives carrying the show. So it was very much, based on real relationships that we all were forging.
Well, and it translates so beautifully on screen. And I have to say, Angelica's performance, she is a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. And Jen says often about how, before all of this happened, she couldn't believe, especially being roommates with Angelica, she just felt like it was so clear that she was living with a star. And it was just a matter of time and what the vehicle was going to be to bring her to that level and to the forefront. And so it's been really one of the most satisfying aspects of the response that we've received to the show is to see how many other, everyone on the team has had other opportunities, but Angelica in particular has really gotten a lot of other acting opportunities, and just to see her go on The Daily Show and to see her really start to get that recognition has been amazing.
Well, and the camera loves her.
Absolutely.
The camera.
It's funny, actually, as well, because when we were casting, when we started the process, obviously Jen, Laura, and Angelica they were always going to be the stars of it. And I knew Jen, I knew Laura, but I had never met Angelica. And so she was like the biggest unknown going into it. So I just remember that first day coming in and being like, I don't know what we have here. And then the second, we see her on camera just doing even tests, we're just like, oh, okay, we're good.
I mean,
yeah, and that actually could only be there for the first chunk of shooting. So we did all of Angelica's scenes up top. And yeah, exactly. It was just, so the very first scene that we shot was the Angelica or the Paige and James first date scene where they're at dinner. And I just remember there was a lot of, behind the camera sort of twittering, I don't even know what the word is, about oh my God, I can't believe how good she looks on camera, or can believe it. But especially combined with, we had a great, hair and makeup team, and also the wardrobe and everything coming together. It was just, and then of course the quality of Bear's filming, and yeah, it was really.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned the costuming, because your costume designer has dressed everybody in such defining outfits. But here again with Angelica, jewel tones on her. The woman should only wear jewel tones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. Our costume designer was incredible. Her name is Daria Derman. She's just phenomenal in terms of having that kind of, bringing the essence of the character to, through the wardrobe, but in a subtle way that really kind of brings it nuance, but in this very kind of, you understand the character through what they're wearing, and that's, I think, that balance between kind of overdoing it, and not doing it quite enough. She just strikes that perfect balance. I think with all the characters that we just left out, I think, with all of our creative team.
Well, how did you, when did you get involved in this process, Kate?
So Laura and I have known each other for a long time, I think a decade now. We actually used to work together at V-Day, which is a worldwide movement to end violence against women and girls, which is actually how we know Eve Ensler, who came on as our EP. So we've known each other for a long time. I moved to LA a couple years ago from New York, and she and Jen were working on the script at that point. And I basically just tried to get myself involved somehow. Luckily, they let me come on board to produce. And then once we kind of made that decision, it moved fairly quickly. I brought on a couple other amazing producers, Sarah Baker, Julie Lopez, and it just kind of the team kind of started building from there, with Sydney coming on board, and then Bear, and then I think from the moment we decided to kind of move forward until shooting was probably, 2 months, between that. So we got a team together fairly quickly for really no budget. And one of the things that we really emphasized going into it was creating a team that represented and reflected the community in the stories that we were telling. So we were able to kind of attract people within the LGBTQ communities in a way that I think, had we not had a story, written by and for our community, we wouldn't have been able to get these people involved, and we were, and I think it shows up in what's on screen.
It does, but what it also is, and this is a testament to you, Laura, and to Jen also, the story is relatable to the non-LGBTQ community as well.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, and absolutely, I'm glad that's your takeaway, because that was certainly what we were trying to accomplish. We were really just trying to tell a universal love story, and some of the best feedback we've received after people have watched it is that by the final scene, they aren't even registering the gender identity or sexuality of the characters. They're just seeing them as human and rooting for them, and excited to see them get together in the end. And that was one thing that Sydney spoke to about why she wanted to come on as director after reading the script, is that she said, this was something I didn't even know that I wanted until she read it. And one story we love to tell about Sydney's involvement is when we were originally looking for a director, we knew that we wanted a woman director, ideally a queer woman, if possible, and we sort of had our wish list, and Sydney was at the top. We knew her from her great work on her feature, the Sundance feature. I'm totally blanking on the name right now, Kate.
Oh,
what is it?
The Drunk Town?
Drunk Town Finest.
Yes.
Okay, Drunk Town Finest. And we knew that one of the leads of that feature had been portrayed by a Native American trans woman. And so we brought Sydney in for her first meeting, and she said she loved the script, and then Jen mentioned something, said something about Janet Mock, and Sydney said, "Oh, I know who Janet Mock is." And then Sydney kind of looked around at the table and said, "Wait a minute, how much do you all know about me?" And we were like, "Well, we know about your great resume and about this film that you made that we all watched and loved." And then she paused and said, "Well, I'm also a trans woman," and our jaws hit the floor, because we of course that had been our dream of, if we could have, had a trans woman director, we wanted that, but we didn't know that Sydney was trans. We reached out to her. We just reached out to her based on her skill and her talent. And so we sort of had found the perfect person, being driven by that desire to find, the best person, and ended up all working out exactly as it should.
And I think that's one of the keys here, is that you went for the best person for each job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and
our emphasis. I mean, we did want to emphasize, hiring people within the LGBTQ communities, but also in doing so, proving that you can hold both at the same time. You can get the best person, and that person can be a part of this community. They can be female identified. They can be a person of color. That by hiring any one of those people, you're not sacrificing anything. They're all out there. They're all a part of this film industry. You just have to, look.
Yeah, and I applaud you for that, and, for the level of excellence that, so many times when people start talking diversity or hiring within certain communities, they're settling, or it's to make a quota. No, you went for the best, and the best is there if you just look.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and I have to say to you, Allie, to you, Laura, your character of Allie, everybody wants to be her best friend. One of the most engaging, adorable performances that I have seen in many months.
Oh, thank you so much.
And also just Laura, too. Everybody wants to be Laura's best friend as well. not to downplay her acting. Her acting is amazing, but they also in real life.
That's one of those compliments that you aren't sure if you should take or not. It's like you're either saying I'm good at acting or I'm likable.
No. It's both. It's both.
Cool.
It transcends the camera.
Did you know when you were writing that you would always write that the character of Allie would always be for you?
I did. I mean, I think because that core chemistry and that core friendship was based on the real friendship, it just felt pretty natural that I would be the one portraying her. I think especially because I was coming off of shooting another web series where I played a character that was loosely based on my own experiences and myself. It was a familiar world for me already. Jen, on the other hand, I think at first it wasn't a given to her that she would portray this role, but we all were pretty adamant that no, you absolutely are the one meant to play Violet. And I think because we had that pre-existing friendship. We just had a level of comfort with each other on set where we could really be freed up to play a little bit and to banter, and Sydney really built that space into the days as well to allow us, after doing a few takes on book, to kind of have a little bit of ad-libbing. And the little, the nerdy, great books rant that Allie does in the second episode, Sydney had just kind of been like, okay, now do a bunch of classics program, feminist interpretation of classic program, one-act plays that Allie could be writing. And so we had a lot of fun just kind of rambling through the nerdiest possible ideas we could.
So Kate, as a producer, how do you wrangle a group of people like this? Because they are all so creative, so effervescent, so spot on in their skill set and talents. Is it an embarrassment of riches for you?
I mean, it is on one level. I think that there is some thought put into kind of creating the right team. And if you do, and when you do, and even though it's hard and it's rare, when you do, things like ego or trying to, outdo one another kind of fall by the wayside just because everyone's moving towards that common goal together, contributing what they do. I mean, filmmaking in general is so collaborative. So when you find those people that both are amazing at their jobs and what they do and contribute so much and are working towards that same goal and like each other, you end up with this kind of feeling on set, and even in post and now, a year later where, it does kind of create this very familial kind of feel, which is rare. And yeah, it is definitely, in this case, it was an embarrassment of riches. And I think, again, that starts with, what Laura and Jen created, and then kind of, finding those pieces. And that's, it's a tribute to everybody. I mean, everybody had to bring the right intention to this project. Otherwise, it wouldn't be where it is. It wouldn't work as well. And they did. And it's been exciting kind of not just to see, how it worked on set and how it's worked in post, but also now, now that the Emmys are coming up, we haven't seen a lot of the people that we worked with on this for, months. And, everyone's working really hard and everyone's just trying to make a living in this town. And we put the call out when we got the Emmy nomination to see who would want to come to the Emmys. They would have to buy their own tickets. But I thought maybe 2 or 3 people would do it. We have over 20 cast and crew, people down, to, PAs and everything, actually spending the money to come together to celebrate this together because of that dynamic that we were able to create. So it's pretty exciting.
That's amazing. Now, the next question then becomes, will they let you buy that many tickets?
They'll let you buy as many as you want. They're not cheap, but they'll let you buy them, yeah. Yeah, it seems like the payment went through. Last Friday, Kate was like, oh, geez, I just spent this much money on the Emmy tickets, so it seems like it was successful.
Oh.
Yeah, no, which is good. But I feel like, the Hearst crew is definitely taking over the Emmys. Win or lose, we're going to be partying pretty hard.
I'm just so excited for you guys to have seen this, before people really had a chance to see it and to watch this unfold. I am thrilled for you. Thrilled for you guys to have this Emmy nomination. How exciting is it that the Academy, as finally in the past few years, they're recognizing these short form drama and comedy series, the web series that started out some years ago as being stepchildren and now really are a showcase for the talented artisans out there.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, and I think it's a testament to all the incredible series that have come, before us, and that, we're even up for nomination this year, whether they got it or not. What I think is kind of sad is that we are the only independent in our category. So there's so much good content being made independently out there for short form, comedy drama, but also doc as well, that, that doesn't have the big studio backing that, literally every other show in our category did. So the fact that we're the only one is kind of sad because, there are some incredible shows out there like, The Skinny for one that was, amazing that didn't get the nomination when I saw it. Personally, I thought, it should have. So it's both exciting that we're in a time that this can happen and that this kind of content is being recognized in this big of a way. But it's also kind of like I want to kind of use it as like a rallying cry to other independent filmmakers to really, try to take back the category from, all of the networks that have kind of taken it. It's interesting.
Kate, as a producer, what do you find some of the biggest challenges about producing a web series as opposed to a feature film or, another long-form project?
I think money is the biggest challenge, honestly. You have to, and asking, people whose work you respect and whose skill level is so high to work for not a lot just because of the budgetary restrictions that you're under. But having said that, there's also a lot of advantages to this kind of content because you do have a bit more freedom. You can kind of, depending on where you get your money and how you do that, you can kind of make what you want to make without the restrictions that kind of come along with working with a bigger company or a network or a bigger platform. So it goes, there's the advantages and then there's disadvantages, but I think the biggest challenge is trying to find that money to make it.
So now where are we in the season process now? We have season 1 and 6 episodes done. Do we have more coming in the process?
Laura,
you want to take that?
Laura?
We absolutely have more story. We have a lot of more story to tell. Really what we shot in those 6 episodes was just scratching the surface of the stories for those individual characters and also for lots of other characters that we want to introduce into their world. Right now we're in the process of pitching the show essentially to networks looking to turn it into a full-length series. So that is our goal right now that we're focused on and in meetings about. So we don't have any specific news about that right now, but that's definitely the intention is to continue making more of the show and hopefully for a long time into the future.
Well, and everybody's going to wait until Kate walks up and picks up that lovely little Emmy award. And then
we're all walking up. We're all walking up to that
well,
stage if we do that.
Then they're all going to beg you. They're going to beg you. You're going to be part of a bidding war.
That sounds great.
This
yeah.
is
Thank you.
So now for the average person out there, where can they go to watch Her Story?
So it lives. Go ahead. Okay, it lives in a couple. Well, really just one location, but you can find it at herstoryshow.com, or you can just go onto YouTube and search Her Story or Her Story Show, and all of the episodes that exist will pop up, including lots of behind-the-scenes footage as well.
And do you guys know when does Emmy voting end?
The 29th at 10 p.m.
Okay, so Emmy voters have plenty of time to, I'm sure that they've been given links or screeners or something so that they can see this. If not, they can go online too, and they can cast their vote for Her Story.
Exactly. Just go to the Emmy site. You can log in when you're a member, and you can watch all the episodes on there, and then hopefully vote for us if you like it.
No, not hopefully. They should.
Thank you.
On so many levels, this is a chance for everybody. People talk about being champions for indie film, for indie work. You are the only indie choice in this category, and you are an excellent choice.
Thank you so much.
Ladies,
and thank you so much for having us.
Oh,
make right decision, do the right thing.
Ladies, thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Emmy-nominated producer Kate Fisher and co-writer, story creator, executive producer, and actress Laura Zak talking about their web series, Her Story. So for all you filmmakers out there doing a web series, you too have a shot for an Emmy nomination. So the best of luck to them. We are going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Lynn Elias, creator, host, film critic, and to some of you all around pain in the butt. I'm not sure. I am thrilled to have all of you listening with us. You can follow us on Twitter, BTL Radio Show. You can email us if you have any comments, requests, suggestions. btlradio@prodigy.net. I think that's our website, our email, I think. I know the Twitter is right, though. Or everybody can find me at moviesharkdeblore.com, along with interviews, reviews, videos, and all kinds of cool stuff. So let's get back to some more Ben-Hur today and the physicality. You know, you just heard Toby Kebbell give a really in-depth description about training. You know, and something that bears pointing out is that even though Jack Huston and Toby are both very good horsemen, they had never done chariot driving. You know, back in '59 when Charlton Heston did William Wyler's Ben-Hur, he had already done 2-horse chariot racing in the Ten Commandments. But then he trained with Yakima Canute to learn how you do 4-horse chariot training. And he had 1 month of training. Stephen Boyd, who played Masala, was given 2 weeks. In the process, he got sunburned. He wasn't properly trained. He was fatigued. And I think it's safe to say he could never have done what Jack and Toby have done in this incarnation of Ben-Hur. And so much of that goes to the physical preparation. And for Jack, a lot of that also falls to galley scenes because, as many of you who know the story of Judah Ben-Hur, he was a slave in a galley ship. So what do you do when you need to lose a ton of weight to be a slave in a galley ship, but also then be beefed up so that you can handle the rigors of chariot racing? So take a listen to what Jack had to say about his physical preparation.
We were in Rome. I lost 30 pounds to do the slave part of this movie because, you know, in my eyes, I was like 5 years in the galley of a slave ship. You're not going to be rippling with muscles. What you're going to be is just pure muscle and bone. Like literally, because you're rowing all day and you're eating very little. So I was training twice a day. I've never been stronger, but I've also never been scared. I went down to 156 pounds.
How did you get down to that?
You know, once again, I had a lovely studio who really did understand that it's tough. And they gave me a wonderful chef in Rome who was there because they knew if you're in Rome, the land of the best food and drink in the world, if I was doing, I might have a cheat day or two. So I had the most wonderful chef, Giuliano, who was just this gorgeous man, and he just was so, loved food and passionate about it. And all he had to do was cook me the most plain, boring crap. In the nice way, in his words, not mine, because I thought he did a fantastic job of it because he made what would have been plain boring crap actually rather nice. But the poor guy was just desperate to feed me pasta, which he never got the opportunity to do until the very end, which was amazing. But it was a lot of training and but I've never been more clear. The clarity it gives you when you're sort of on this sort of when I say health kick, it was amazing. They had nutritionists. We were taking amazing sort of natural supplements that help your body ease off when you're dropping a lot of weight over a rather short period of time. You have to take very, very careful of your body because it can actually be dangerous. But I was so well taken care of. And what it does is every time you think you can't do something, which happened a lot because you'd wake up after sort of months of the slave ship and rowing every day, and sometimes you'd be like, I'm feeling broken, I literally can't do it, and then you go to work and you do it, and it taught me a lot about how resilient we are as human beings and how we are so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for, because a lot of the times when you're given the opportunity to sort of say no or I can't do it, thing like that, it's almost like a way out. And this was very much a test, a constant test, which is what the character was going through. So everything only complemented the other thing. So it put me in a very sort of emotional, headspace. It was kind of amazing.
Well, and hand in hand with that training, wonderful director Timur, he wanted things as authentic as possible. So when it came to those galley ships, and Jack had to be in there actually rowing, to trip up the actors and the stuntmen who were doing the rowing, the oars are actually operated with pneumatics and hydraulics. So I asked Jack about that, because that then impacts, that's another whole impact on the performance at that level.
Hey, quickly, you mentioned the galleys, and I know that Timur had these rigged with pneumatics.
Yeah.
How did that, it's not like a lot of films where you would be rowing and everybody would be in tandem, but the pneumatics, you don't know when they're going to alter the tension or
Yeah, they would.
or
It's
screw
amazing.
around
Yeah,
with that.
yeah, they would, and I like hydraulics, pneumatic with the oars and everything. It was unbelievable, and that was the great thing, is it was actually kind of, because if you, in the book that Lew Wallace wrote, he writes the galley, when he's a slave, all from Judah's point of view.
Right.
Which is true. It's not like what's going on outside, because all he's aware of is what's happening inside the galley, you know what I mean? So it's we said it's almost like a horror movie, because this action's happening all around you, so it's much more about your senses, what you're hearing. And he's constantly looking through little things and hearing stuff. And that was what was so great, is you didn't need anything more than all this sound and this movement and things coming, and it was rough in that. I mean, I tell you what, that many men in loincloths, and they would stack us up, because it was like all the research was they would literally stack them on top of each other. So there was like 3 layers that would jump back, up, and down, and you were in very close proximity. And actually, it was a funny story. I think the first day I got in there, and I'd been like working out like crazy. I'd gone down to 150 pounds. I walk in, and they put me next to the most rippling muscle sort of human being thing, and I was like, no, are you kidding? I can't be next to that guy. So they went and found the loveliest stuntman, Steve, who was the complete opposite. Couldn't have been more pale and pasty and skinny, and that was the next day. So I was like, that works. That's better. So it was a better one, but it was amazing. It was like the heat and the sweat and the grime and all the rest of it. It puts you. It was amazing. It was quite something. Everything was done with a lot of care for the realism of it, which helps us, as an actor. You sort of, as much as they can do to put you in that place, even if it's a rather brutal place, it helps.
So, looks like we are out of time for today. A heads up, next week it is going to be a classic film delight, as I'm going to have Monica Henry, daughter of the legendary Paul Henry, with us live. She'll be calling in, and Monica is going to talk about her father, his work, and a documentary that she's working on that maybe all of you can help be a part of as well. And we will hear more from Jack Huston, who talked to me about the legacy of being Walter Huston's great-grandson, John Huston's grandson, and filming in the very sound stages where his grandfather filmed the Bible. So, until next week, I'm Debbie Elias. This is Behind the Lens.